Alright guys, so the rear subframe is all dried up. Looking a lot better than it was before. So I already dropped in new studs. There's the front one here and the rear one. These ones I still have to, I'm just gonna cut them off, and that'll be the end of that. I'll just put some silicone or whatever in there, some seam sealer, just so it doesn't rattle around. But I'm gonna get this thing up a little higher, cut that off, and then test fit the subframe. So here's where we're at. I got all of the studs, I got them tacked in there. So now I'm gonna go ahead and remove the subframe, and then I'm gonna weld around, make sure the studs are really welded in there. And then we're gonna put the subframe back together, put the control arms on it, and I think before we can put the subframe in, I believe we gotta put the fuel tank in. So we'll do that, and we'll put the subframe in, and then that thing's gonna be all-wheel drive. So the goal is to get the tank in the GST, get the GSX tank into the GST, and to get the rear subframe in. Obviously I already had it bolted up. I tacked, as you guys saw, the new studs inside of the frame. But now it's time to actually get this thing put together. So this here is the rear drive shaft hanger bracket. So in order to get the tank in, obviously the car is not on the lift, which sucks because I'm gonna have to weld this in there. But in order to get the tank in, I have to weld this in. Now, it's only a couple of spot welds, so I'm not too worried about, it's not gonna be crazy. It'll be fine welding it under there, but I am just gonna weld just this rear one in, and then for the middle one, I think I'll put it on the lift and weld that middle bracket in. But yeah, I gotta clean it up over there because there is some seam sealer and stuff, so I gotta grind that off with a wire wheel. The reason that I want to clean up the seam sealer is because this bracket kind of conforms to the bottom of the car, and with the seam sealer there, it's easy to, it doesn't sit perfectly in there, so it's easy to weld it in a little bit of a weird angle. Plus it's gonna catch on fire when you weld it, so I'm better off just grinding it off anyways. But yeah, if I grind it off, this is just gonna sit in there nice and flush. It won't have any motion really, so that's how I know it's gonna be in the right spot. And then weld it up, and then we can kind of get the seam sealer on here and get the tank in there. So that's the plan. Now let's execute. Alright, so as you just saw, we just welded in the bracket for the drive shaft, the rearmost bracket. There's two, one in the middle, one in the back. So I got that one welded in because, like I said, I need to do it before I get the fuel tank in. So now I'm just gonna go ahead and grind the welds just a little bit, and then I'll put some seam sealer on there. And I also want to kind of coat the studs that I dropped in, the front ones, since they don't have that long sleeve that kind of raises the head of the stud. I welded it to the bottom of the tub in there. So I'm gonna coat the exterior part of that, since the paint burned up. I'm gonna coat that with the 415 paint, and then once that seam sealer kind of dries up on the bracket that we just welded in, I'll spray that too with. I might just coat it with 415. I'm not sure yet, but we'll coat all that up, and hopefully we can kind of get this rolling. Before I can throw the subframe in, I also got to put the rear diff into the subframe because there's no way to unbolt it if it's in the car. So I got to put the diff on the subframe, then the subframe's going to go into the car, and then everything else can kind of go in after that. But like I said, before any of that can happen, the fuel tank's got to be in it. So as I mentioned in the previous video, for the fuel tank, I'm gonna just put some rib nuts into the original holes that are on this body already. That way I don't have to weld anything, don't have to do nothing, just rib nut it, and then I can bolt the tank in. So this bolt here that goes in this middle lower control arm, it needs to be way longer than the one out of the GST, and when I took apart the GSX, I ended up having to cut all these. So I'm gonna have to buy 2 new bolts for this, And also this I already knew, but this control arm back here, where is it at? Oops. So this control arm here, this is the GST control arm. Now the only difference between the GST and the GSX control arm, like this rear lower control arm, is this bushing here. In the GST it's a little bit shorter. I think the GSX it's like half an inch longer on one end. So I'm gonna have to buy some spacers to insert in here. That way I don't crush the subframe when I'm tightening it in. And I'm reusing all GST control arms. So this middle one is the exact same. That front one is the exact same up here. Oop, let me see. So this one here is the same exact one as the GSX. The only real difference is this. The spindle is different, and obviously the subframe is different. But all the control arms are the same, except for that one bushing thing that I was talking about. So I just got the car on the ground. This is the first time it's been on the ground with the all-wheel drive swap in, with the all-wheel drive rear suspension in it at least. Now what I'm going to do is I think I'm going to go ahead and turn it around, and we are going to drop in that motor with the all-wheel drive transmission back into this car. So we are going to be swapping the interiors, so all this gray interior is coming out, the fan from the GSX is going in. So that means that when I have to weld that middle drive shaft bracket in, I'm going to do it with all the carpet in there. That way it won't burn the carpet, it'll be better, and I can coat it from above, from inside the car, just if the paint burns up. Alright guys, so here are the bolts that I bought. They are, I think they're like 280 millimeter long or something like that, 270 maybe, I don't remember. But these are going to go through that lower control arm, the middle one. And then I bought a bunch of nuts for them, and a bunch of washers. But I'm gonna go ahead and install these right now, and then we're gonna be done kind of with the rear suspension. The only thing left is gonna be the sway bar, and then figuring the brakes out, and the e-brake linkage. Other than that, or the e-brake cables, whatever. But yeah, it's completely on the ground right now. I did put the engine in it already. So far I kind of just dropped it in here. I haven't actually put anything on. So it's just hanging on the motor mounts, that's it. But it's starting to look like a car again. I have to take apart the interior. There's two reasons. One is the customer wants the tan interior out of his old car anyways. And two is I'm gonna have to be welding that central drive shaft bracket on there, so I don't want the carpet to burn up while I'm doing that, so I gotta pull that out, and then I can draw out the spot welds for the original bracket, and then we can put the all-wheel drive bracket in there. And the only difference is the all-wheel drive one has two studs that hang down, so you can bolt up the drive shaft. So. Alright, so day 5,976 of working on the DSM. As you guys saw, I got the carpet out, so now I just put it on the lift. I'm going to swap out that bracket for the drive shaft. Basically this thing has the same exact bracket, but it's just missing two studs that drop down so you can put the drive shaft up and then put nuts on them. So I got to drill this one out, remove that one, and then weld the new one with the studs. And that's going to be it for the all-wheel drive swap, besides just bolting it back together. All right, so here's where we're at. I just actually finished up cleaning these up. Kind of getting the floats to move as much as I can. I also put a new pump in here. It's just an on 3, I think it's a 320 LPH pump, which should be plenty fuel for the setup that it's gonna have right now. I actually ended up making a new little bracket for the bottom of the pump because the original one, I couldn't bend it enough to make it work, and if I would cut this, then it would just be too weak to actually hold the pump. So I made one out of aluminum, pretty thick. Pump's not going nowhere. We have new gaskets for the sender, as well as this other, I don't know what this would be called, but it just sends fuel from this side of the tank to this side of the tank. So I'm gonna throw it into the car real quick here, and then I believe I have a few things to button up here, like attach the throttle cable to the cruise control box thing right there. I have to connect the fuel lines up here, as well as run the hose for the brake booster vacuum, because this one was all old and it ended up breaking. I put the dash in a little bit ago. Hopefully, I think everything should be plugged in to where the car will start. In order to get this sender in there, I'm gonna have to make that hole a little bigger, which isn't a big deal. I'll just cut it a little bit longer this way, because right now it just won't fit. But the other side should be good. I also have to wire up the other side because the plugs are different, since this is a GST body and the GSX tank and sender. So I have to figure that out. But hopefully tonight I'll hear this thing run again. All right, guys, we just got the Eclipse fired up. If you want to see the first start, check out our Instagram. It is going to be linked in the description of this video. But I'll start it up again for you guys. So here it is. So now I am going to be preparing this thing to take it to the body shop. I gotta finish up welding up the rest of the holes in the body here. and where I inserted. I just got to weld sheet metal on top to cover them up. I still have to put the other sender in the fuel tank on the driver's side. And basically, I got to swap out the wings. I'm putting the GSX wing onto here, the 2GB wing, 2GB rear bumper. What else? Basically, I think that's it. Yeah, I think that's everything that's going to be done here. I got to throw the radiator in it, obviously, finish up putting this, kind of put the battery tray back in there. There's a couple of evap hoses that need to still go on. And also the one big thing is I got to figure out the exhaust. So he had a 3-inch downpipe, but that doesn't, and it's a GSX downpipe, so that would fit. But the bolt pattern's a little bit different for the turbo. So I got to modify the GST downpipe. It's 2.5 inch, I think, and then I think it goes to 3 after the flex pipe. But I got to modify that to fit in here, and then once that's figured out, I'll throw some sort of exhaust on it. I think he's got something laying around that came with his car. I'll throw the cap back on it, and maybe assemble the interior as much as I can, and then it's off to the body shop where I will be fixing up all these dents, and I'm just gonna get it coated in primer, and he's gonna be getting this thing wrapped. So that's basically gonna be it for me for now, until it comes back for some power mods a little bit later down the road. Okay, so I'm looking at the exhausts. This is the one off the GSX. That over there is the one off the GST. This is the downpipe off the GSX. And I got the GST downpipe bolted up. And I was hoping that I could use the mid pipe out of the GSX and then just modify around here a little bit to make this bolt up to the rest of the exhaust. That doesn't look like it's gonna work very well. So what I think I'm gonna end up doing is I'm gonna use the mid pipe out of the GSX, and then I'm gonna actually modify the downpipe up here. So I'm gonna modify the downpipe out of the GST to step up from 2.5 inch to 3 inch, kind of like on this straight section over here. And then we're gonna make that flange essentially. So essentially I'm just gonna use this flange off the GST, and then use the rest of the downpipe off of the GSX. And I'm just gonna have a step up, which I have right here. It's gonna go in there. I'll probably end up trimming this down, making it a little shorter so I don't have to add any length to that. But that looks like it's gonna be the best route. I believe he said he has a tailpipe, but it's just, I don't have it here. So it's just gonna end right around the rear axle. I just got the exhaust all finished up. So here's the little reducer that goes down to the 2.5 inch flange. That's all bolted up. Then it goes down, joins the mid pipe, the cat. Then there's the little hook right here that's hooked in. This one I'm probably gonna just chop off, or maybe I'll put it on, not sure yet. And then there's another one right here. So the exhaust is technically attached. The next thing I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna weld up the stuff in the trunk actually. So weld these up, all the holes I made to insert the new studs in. I'm gonna get all those welded up, and then the interior will be kind of almost all the way done, and at least the metal side of it. I'm also gonna drop in that other sender for the fuel. I got some plates welded in to cover up those holes. There's another one right there. These ones in the back are a little bigger. I also drilled some holes in them. I'm gonna spray some cavity wax in there on both sides. I'll probably drill some holes in the front ones as well. Spray some cavity wax in there. This is gonna be the end of part 3 of the all-wheel drive swap on the DSM. So basically we're pretty much finished with the swap. There it is. I do also have to do one more thing, which is part of the swap, and that's to wire up the fuel level senders in the tank. The issue that I have with that is I am gonna wire it up for it to work, but I still don't think that it's gonna work just because the senders in there are so, they've just been corroded pretty much to, they're basically trash. I really don't think that they're gonna work. The wires are all pretty much gone. So we will have to work on getting new senders for this thing, but for right now, as long as he keeps gas in the tank, it's gonna drive. There shouldn't be any issues with that. So because these GSXs are hard to find and they are increasingly hard to find parts for, I am in the middle of actually making my own fuel sender, at least for the pump side, but this can be easily modified to fit into the other side, where it's just a level sender and a little it's just one pipe going down for the Venturi to suck fuel into the other side of the tank. But this is what it looks like. I'll show you guys a little bit later. Basically, I would have this machined out of some 6061 aluminum, and then it's gonna be very customizable, so you can put 2 pumps on it if you'd like. But I do have to work out a couple of things like the level sender attachments onto here for both sides if I am going to be using this in both sides. And then, so basically this is what it looks like. The wires are going to go through here, with the original whatever plastic piece there is, the connector. And then it's going to have the 2 lines coming out, which these can be made thicker obviously, and then just weld on bongs on each side. So yeah, that's basically the idea for that. But yeah, like I said, thank you guys for watching this video. There will be a part 4. It's going to be very short because all it's going to have in it is wiring up the fuel senders, and then maybe throwing the interior back together all the way. But there's a couple of things I need to do before I can do that. So thank you so much for watching. Share this video, like the video, leave me a comment if I did a terrible job, and we'll see you in the next video.